What happens when a Hollywood tough guy with a gritty past walks into the vibrant chaos of one of TV's most beloved talk shows? Mark Wahlberg thought he was stepping onto the Graham Norton show for a lively chat to promote his latest thriller, Flight Risk, but what unfolded was a verbal showdown that left the audience stunned, the crew scrambling, and social media ready to erupt. This wasn't just a promotional appearance gone sideways. It was a clash of egos that exposed raw tensions and questioned who really speaks for the everyman. Hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story builds to a moment you'll never see coming. Mark Wahlberg strode onto the set of the Graham Norton show, flashing his trademark Boston grin, high-fiving the cheering crowd as he settled onto the famous red couch alongside a comedian and a pop star. Graham Norton, all charm and wit, welcomed him with a booming laugh, hyping Flight Risk as a wild ride and joking about Mark's new bald look for the villain role. The audience roared, but Graham's eyes twinkled with a mischief that hinted at something more than banter. "Thanks for having me, Graham. This show's always a good time," Mark said, leaning back, his Boston accent thick, his posture relaxed as he waved to the crowd. "I'm pumped to talk Flight Risk, man. It's a whole different vibe for me." "Oh, we're thrilled to have you, Mark," Graham replied, his grin wide but sharp. "But I've got to ask about something you said recently, that bit about celebrities needing to stick to their day jobs instead of preaching politics. Sounds like you're throwing some shade at folks like me who chat about the world on shows like this. Care to clarify?" The audience chuckled nervously, sensing a shift, as Mark's smile tightened, his hands clasping together. "I think you're twisting my words a bit, Graham. I was talking about keeping it real. I said some celebs push their own agendas instead of connecting with people. I wasn't calling out anyone specific. Just saying we should focus on what we're good at, like making movies or, hosting a fun show." Graham leaned forward, his voice playful but pointed. "Come on, Mark, don't play coy. You said talk show hosts sometimes act like they're the voice of the people, but they're just lecturing. Sounds like you're taking a swing at me, mate. You think I'm out of touch with the regular folks out there?" Mark shook his head, his voice firm. "I'm not swinging at anyone. Graham, I grew up in Dorchester, man, rough streets, 9 kids in a cramped house. I know what it's like to scrape by. My point was we should tell stories that lift people up, like Flight Risk does with its intensity, not tell folks how to think or vote." Graham's eyebrows shot up, his tone teasing but sharp. "Oh, Dorchester, right? The tough guy origin story, but let's be real, Mark. You're a Hollywood star now, big paychecks, big movies. You're not exactly punching the clock in Boston anymore. Are you saying I don't get what regular people go through because I'm sitting here with a microphone?" The crowd murmured, some laughing, others shifting uncomfortably. As Mark leaned forward, his voice steady, "I'm saying I haven't forgotten where I came from, Graham. My family struggled. I was in trouble as a kid. Did some dumb stuff, but I worked my way up. I don't sit on a show like this making jokes about people's lives to get applause. That's not real. That's just playing to the room." Graham waved a hand, his voice dripping with mock offense. "Playing to the room, Mark, ouch. I'll have you know I've been doing this for years. Talking about real issues, politics, life. I connect with people. You think your villain role in Flight Risk makes you more authentic than me, is that it?" Mark's jaw clenched, his tone sharp. "It's not about the role, Graham. It's about intent. I made Flight Risk to entertain, to give people a thrill, not to lecture them. You invite me here to talk movies. Then you start digging into my words, trying to make me look like I'm attacking you. That's not a conversation. That's a setup." The audience gasped, the tension rising, as the comedian on the couch tried to lighten the mood. "Hey, can we talk about how Mark shaved his head for that movie? Bold move." But Graham ignored him, his voice firm. "A setup, Mark. I'm just asking you to own what you said. You think hosts like me are out of touch, so say it. Don't hide behind your Boston roots or your movie star charm." Mark shook his head, his voice rising. "I'm not hiding, Graham. I'm saying you twist things. You take serious stuff, jobs, families, struggles, and turn them into bits for laughs. I've seen your show. You poke fun at people who don't agree with you. That's not connecting. That's just preaching to your crowd." Graham leaned back, his smile tight. "Preaching, wow, that's a big word, Mark. I talk about what's happening in the world. I give people a voice. You're out there playing a bad guy pilot. What's that doing for the folks in Dorchester you keep talking about?" Mark's hands gestured sharply, his voice intense. "It's giving them a break. Graham, a chance to escape, to feel something. Flight risk is about tension, survival, not about me telling them how to live. You could try that sometime, instead of acting like you've got all the answers on this couch." The crowd was silent, some nodding, others stunned. As Joy Behar tried to jump in, "All right, let's not get too serious. Maybe talk about the stunts in the movie." But Graham waved her off, his voice sharp. "No, I want to hear this, Mark. You think I'm not real. You think I'm just some posh host who doesn't get it. Go on, tell me how I'm failing my audience." Mark stood, his chair scraping, his voice steady. "You're failing them when you make their lives a punchline, Graham. When you invite me here to talk and then try to dunk on me for saying we should focus on stories, not agendas. You're proving my point right now, and I'm not here to be your punching bag." The studio went quiet, the air charged as producers signaled frantically. Security inching closer, sensing the moment could tip over. The audience waiting for what would come next in a clash that was already unforgettable. Mark Wahlberg stood on the Graham Norton show's vibrant set, his fists clenched, his Boston accent thick as he fired back at Graham Norton's latest jab. The audience caught in a stunned hush as the once lively chat about flight risk spiraled into a full-blown verbal slugfest. Graham, leaning forward on his iconic red couch, waved off the nervous laughter from the crowd, his wit now a weapon as he pushed Mark to defend his stance, the air crackling with the intensity of a showdown no one expected. The comedian and pop star sharing the couch shifted awkwardly, their attempts at humor ignored, while producers in the control room scrambled, their headsets buzzing with panic as security hovered closer to the stage. Hit that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this clash is about to explode, and the next move will leave you questioning who's got the upper hand. Graham leaned back, his voice sharp with a mocking edge. "So Mark, you're telling me I'm failing my audience by talking about real issues? Huh? You think your tough guy movie Flight Risk does more for people than my show, where we tackle politics, life, the messy stuff? You really believe you're more connected to the streets than me?" Mark shook his head, his voice steady but fierce. "I'm saying you twist the messy stuff into bits for laughs, Graham. I grew up in Dorchester. Man, 9 kids, rough streets. I know what real looks like. Flight Risk gives people a thrill, an escape. Not a lecture on how they're living wrong. You're not connecting, you're just playing to your crowd." Graham's eyebrows shot up, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Playing to my crowd. Ouch, Mark, that's a low blow. I've been chatting with real people for decades, giving them a voice. While you're out there playing a villain pilot, you think that's more authentic than what I do here every night." Mark stepped closer, his hands gesturing sharply. "Authentic, Graham, is not turning someone's struggle into a punchline. I've seen your show. You take shots at folks who don't agree with you. Make them look stupid to get cheers. That's not a voice. That's a performance. And I'm not here to be part of your act." The audience gasped, some clapping, others stunned, as Graham waved a hand, his voice rising. "A performance, Mark. You're calling my show a performance. I talk about what's happening, Brexit, inequality, the lot, and people relate. You're out there cashing checks for Hollywood, acting like you're still that kid from Dorchester. Don't come here acting like you're above me." Mark's jaw clenched, his voice cutting through. "I'm not above you, Graham, but I don't pretend to have all the answers. I worked my way up from nothing, got in trouble as a kid, turned it around. I don't sit here making millions telling people they're wrong for how they think. You invited me to talk movies, then you start digging into my words to make me look bad." Graham leaned forward, his smile tight. "Digging, Mark. I'm just asking you to own what you said. You called out talk show hosts for preaching. So stand by it. Or are you just gonna hide behind that Boston tough guy vibe? Mark's voice rose, his frustration spilling over. I stand by it, Graham, but you're proving my point. You're not asking questions, you're setting traps. You want headlines, not truth. You brought me here to talk flight risk, but you're trying to dunk on me for saying we should focus on stories, not agendas. The crowd murmured, some cheering Mark's defiance. As the comedian tried to jump in, hey, can we talk about Mark's bald head in the movie? That's a bold choice. But Graham ignored him, his voice sharp. Headlines, Mark. You're the one making headlines with your big talk about staying in your lane. I'm giving people a platform to be heard. What's flight risk doing for the folks you claim to represent? Mark shook his head, his tone intense. It's giving them a break. Graham, a chance to feel something, not get lectured. My character in flight risk is flawed, real, not some saint telling people how to live. You could try that, instead of acting like you're the voice of every working stiff out there. Graham's face flushed, his voice booming. Voice, Mark. I've been that voice since you were rapping as Marky Mark. Don't come here acting like your street cred makes you more real. I've fought for my place. What have you done besides trade punches on screen? Mark took a step closer, his voice low and pointed. I've lived it, Graham. I was in the streets. Got arrested. Turned my life around. I don't use my past to score points, but you take real issues, jobs, family, faith, and turn them into bits for your audience to clap at. That's not fighting, that's exploiting. Graham's hands slammed on the couch, his voice sharp. Exploiting, wow, Mark. That's a big accusation. I talk about what matters. You're out there playing a bad guy for Mel Gibson. You think that's doing more for people than my show? You think you're more grounded because you came from nothing? Mark's eyes narrowed, his voice steady. Grounded, Graham, is remembering where you came from. My family struggled. I struggled. I don't sit here acting like I've got the moral high ground. You invited me to talk. Then you drag up my past to make me look small. That's not a conversation. That's a setup. The audience gasped louder, the tension spiking, as Joy Behar tried again. Okay, let's pivot. Maybe talk about the stunts in flight risk. But Graham waved her off, his voice rising. No, Joy, I want to hear this, Mark. You think I'm setting you up. Tell me how I'm failing my audience. Go on, lay it out. Mark stood taller, his chair scraping as he shifted, his voice fierce. You fail them when you make their lives a joke, Graham. When you mock their beliefs to get laughs. When you bring me here to talk movies and try to tear me down for saying we should tell stories. Not preach, you're proving every word I said right now. Graham's smile vanished, his voice booming. Tear you down, Mark. I'm asking you to own your words. You said hosts like me are out of touch, so prove it. Or are you just gonna storm off like some tough guy from one of your movies? Mark's hands clenched, his voice cutting. I'm not storming off, Graham, but I'm not your punching bag either. You want a real talk, let's have it. But stop trying to humiliate me for your ratings. That's not truth, that's a power play. The crowd went silent, some nodding, others stunned, as security edged closer. Producers signaling frantically, sensing the moment was about to tip into chaos. The audience waiting for the spark that would ignite this clash into legend. Mark Wahlberg's voice echoed across the Graham Norton show's set, his Boston accent slicing through Graham Norton's latest challenge, to prove how the host had failed his audience. The red couch now a battleground where civility had crumbled into a raw clash of wills. Graham leaned forward, his hands gripping the armrests. His wit turned venomous as he dared Mark to back up his accusations. The crowd frozen in their seats, their eyes darting between the two men as producers in the control room signaled frantically, their faces pale with urgency. Security stood poised near the stage, ready to step in, while the comedian and pop star on the couch sat silent, their earlier quips forgotten in the face of a showdown that had gripped everyone. Smash that subscribe button and share your thoughts below, because this final moment will show who stands tall and who falls in the aftermath. Mark shifted his weight, his voice steady and sharp. You want proof, Graham. You're proving it right now. You brought me here to talk flight risk, a movie about grit and survival. but you turned it into a personal attack. You're not looking for truth. You're looking to win. To make me look like the bad guy for saying we should tell stories, not preach. Graham stood, his voice booming. Win, Mark. I'm holding you accountable. You said hosts like me are out of touch, lecturing people, so own it. Don't act like I'm twisting your words when you threw the first punch with that interview. Mark shook his head, his tone firm. I threw no punches, Graham. I said some celebs push agendas instead of connecting. You made it personal, dragging up my past, my life in Dorchester, to paint me as some hypocrite. I came to talk movies, but you want to fight, and now you're mad I'm fighting back. Graham's hands waved sharply, his voice rising. Fighting back, Mark. You're the one who called my show a power play. I talk about real issues, politics, jobs, life, while you're out there playing a villain pilot. Don't come here acting like you're more real because you had a tough childhood. Mark took a step closer, his voice low and cutting. Real, Graham. Real is growing up with nothing, getting in trouble, turning it around. I don't use my past to score points, but you take people's struggles and make them a bit for laughs. That's not real. It's a game, and I'm done playing it. Graham's face tightened, his voice sharp. Done, huh? Then walk, Mark. Nobody's begging you to stay if you can't handle a real conversation. Get off my set. This is my show, and I don't need your Boston attitude. Mark paused, his chair scraping as he turned toward the exit, his voice calm but piercing. Your show, Graham, but you don't get to invite me, attack me, then cry foul when I stand my ground. I'm leaving because I respect myself too much to be your punching bag, not because you're kicking me out. The crowd clapped loudly, some shouting, Go, Mark. As security hesitated, their hands lowered, sensing his steady resolve. Graham's voice cracked, his tone desperate. Stand your ground, Mark. You're the one who started this, throwing shade at talk shows. Now you're walking off like some hero. Go plug flight risk and leave the real talk to me. Mark stopped at the stage's edge, turning back, his voice soft but heavy. Real talk, Graham, is listening, not humiliating. It's telling stories that lift people up, like flight risk does. I came here to share that. But you chose a fight, and I want this audience to see who kept it honest and who made it a circus. The crowd cheered, their hands raised, as Mark gave a final nod. Striding off the set, his head high, his integrity unshaken. Graham sank onto the couch, his hands shaking, his usual charm gone, replaced by a flicker of regret as he realized he'd pushed too far, his ambush crumbling under the weight of Mark's stand. The cameras lingered, capturing Graham's forced grin as he stammered, Right, we'll be back after a quick break. But the crowd's silence was deafening, their faces etched with judgment. Social media lit up instantly, clips of the clash spreading like wildfire. Hashtags trending as fans hailed Mark's grit, posting, Wahlberg just owned Norton, while others slammed Graham. He tried to trap Mark and got schooled. Headlines screamed, Mark Wahlberg storms off Graham Norton show in epic clash, with pundits praising Mark's authenticity, his refusal to stoop to personal jabs, while Graham's tactic backfired, his credibility dented. Graham's team issued a weak statement about lively debates, but it couldn't stem the tide as viewers questioned his warmth, his image as a fun host tainted. Mark stayed quiet, letting his walk-off speak, his flight risk role now tied to a real-life stand for principle. The aftermath lingered, Mark emerging as a symbol of staying true, his exit a lesson in standing firm without malice. Graham's misstep cost him trust, his legacy as a witty host scarred by a moment of overreach. Years later, this clash would stand as a reminder that honesty outshines drama, and Mark's final words would resonate, showing who fought for respect and who fell to their own hubris.
Thank you for watching our channel Modern Stories. If you liked our video, you should subscribe for more amazing videos like this. Have a healthy and happy day. See you in the next one.